coming through when the growth look good on you. Best believe they wanna screw now. I've been trying to climb, devil threw me in the dark. Baby, don't be insecure, you can still go make a mark like blow. Could never let them drain my soul now. Blow. Table turning like doorknobs, wow. Blow. I think I'm about to set sail. I'm a walking, living legend, walking with my chest out. Life keep dealing me cards, I keep fitting in love.
Yes, people, we are back in the building. We're back with another video. It is myself, G, and we are back today. So, obviously, Liverpool have got Chelsea this weekend. So I thought, you know what? There's been a lot of talk of Jurgen Klopp and, you know, him finally kind of using a different midfield, potentially. We saw the performance of the midfield against Wolverhampton Wanderers in the FA Cup. Liverpool had Thiago, Keita and Bajcetic in that midfield three, a different kind of midfield three, to be fair to you, a more possession-based ball-playing midfield than we are used to. Obviously, we're used to Fabinho, Henderson, you know, in the middle of the park, kind of, you know, shall we say, stinking up the place a bit, you know. So, you know, it's been like that all season, to be honest, you know, all jokes aside. And I think that what we saw against Wolverhampton Wanderers was something that I think we've been missing for a very, very long time. I think it's just something different. Whether it would have worked or not, I mean, we didn't play all that well against Wolves, but, you know, something different is always good. It's always good, especially when you're going through a bit of a rut as the team are currently. So, you know, it was something that I wanted to kind of touch upon today, just in a little short video. But before we even head into that, guys, please make sure you are subscribing to the channel. We are not far off the next target, which is 200 subscribers. So please make sure, if you haven't already, like the video. But more importantly, if you also haven't already, make sure you subscribe to GTV. So, you can probably see in the thumbnail, obviously I've got pictures of all the midfielders. I haven't put Arthur Melo in there. I didn't want to put, you know, Fabio Carvalho, because I'm not necessarily counting him as a midfielder per se. It was going to be more, you know, the natural midfielders that we do have in the team. So, yeah, I kept it at that. But, you know, you can see all the midfielders there, you know, your Navigators, Oxlade-Chamberlain. I threw Curtis Jones in there because it seems like he's going to play in that position. Harvey Elliott as well, even though he performed a lot better out, you know, on that right-hand side. You know, a lot of people want to see, and to be honest, today it was more about, what do you guys think? Like, you know, when you guys see this video, you know, it's kind of to talk through all the kind of options we can have, especially against Chelsea, but, you know, potentially moving forward. You know, a lot of talk because everyone wants Bajcetic to play. I think that one is the main one. I think Thiago is a given, regardless. If he's fit, then he's going to play. Keita, I think it's just a question of, again, if he's fit, I reckon he would play. The third one for me was always going to be, is it going to be Bajcetic, or is he going to put Fabinho back in there? Maybe he throws an Oxlade-Chamberlain, a Jordan Henderson, and, you know, throw Thiago in the 6, potentially. No idea what he's going to do, but I think this is going to be key moving forward. Because, you know, Jurgen Klopp has spoken recently in press conferences about, you know, this being too loyal and, you know, all these kind of things. But he's the one who's shown, obviously, throughout his time here that, yes, I am a little bit too loyal. I am someone who, you know, regardless of anything, regardless of really how the team is playing, whether they're in form or not, I am going to kind of stick to what I know and what I trust. Now, there is something to be said in that, of course. You know, if you, at the end of the day, you try to build, you're trying to gain trust, and you're trying to build trust with a team. And especially if it's a team that's been winning and it's been successful, you know, of course, you're going to trust certain players over others. But when those players start to break that trust, and what I mean by that is, once they start performing at a level that, or below the level that you are used to, and it's a consistent thing, there has to come a point where you genuinely have to say to yourself, you know what? He's been performing, you know, like this more or less for the entire season. You know, maybe the odd game here or there, then you can potentially pick out, but he's been performing like this for most of the season. So I'm going to need to change it up, you know, and maybe I'm going to just need to put a different player in there, and you never know. And what I liked and said about the, you know, the team sheet that we had against Wolves, and what I was saying on the Jerry James show was, it was kind of, it was like, he made 8 changes, I think, to the squad, from the previous game against Brighton. And as I was saying on, JJ's show, you need something to rejuvenate the players, because obviously the players are in a slump. I mean, Liverpool sitting 9th in the Premier League, guys. I mean, if that's not alarm bells ringing, then I don't know what is. But Liverpool sitting 9th, been playing poorly this season. One of the easiest teams to play against, one of the easiest teams to get chances against. But everything that made us who we are at our peak is all gone. That's not there anymore. So if that's not there anymore, surely you should see that something needs to change. Now, we keep talking about the transfer market. And this is why I wanted to have a little conversation about the midfield, because we keep talking and, I heard a lot of things over the last couple of days, especially with this whole potential, takeover and things like that. People are not assigning blame, but, everyone's looking a bit more closely now at, at Klopp and, the FSG. Are they doing right? And this, that, and the third. And, one of the things that I was, kind of finding a little bit funny was the sheer fact that as much as we can talk about the owners, and I keep saying that is a separate thing, not in all aspects are the two exclusive, because what happens on the pitch has got nothing to do with FSG. And I'm talking on the training pitch, on the training ground, and on match day. That's got nothing to do with FSG. FSG are not in control of what happens in that kind of aspect. What they are in control of is facilitating you to be able to even put 11 players on that field, which he is able to do, and which he has done since he's been here. So they've done their part. He's done, his part, vice versa. So when I'm looking, at everything we've got here at the football club, and I'm looking at Jurgen Klopp, and I'm looking at, the owners and maybe potential new owners, I sit there and I think to myself, okay, cool. Jurgen Klopp has got this array, and you can see in the thumbnail, Jurgen Klopp has got this array of midfielders, yeah? So let's maybe be a little logical about certain things we see and certain things we say, because sometimes maybe the emotion is starting to take over. It's happened to me. I've done it as well this season, so I'm not sitting here like I'm exempt, because I've also done that. But let's look at the facts and see what Jurgen Klopp is working with. At the end of the day, this guy's got about 8-9 midfielders. So first and foremost, we need to then understand, how can he bring another 1, 2, and 3 in? It's not going to happen. It's I can't even say impossible, but it is very much as close as impossible as you can potentially get it, because he can't bring any more in when he's already got this array of players. It just doesn't work for dynamic in the squad and all of these kind of various different things. So he's got that on his side. He, in the summer, literally listed off all the midfielders that we have, and they're all a little bit different from each other. And that's what he was listing throughout the summer, was I've got this guy, 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 I've got that guy, I've got that guy. Okay, no problem. He's right in that aspect as well. He's got, all of them are different midfielders. Yes, a few are relatively similar, but that's because they've been playing, the same system for such a long time. But he's right. He has got different midfielders. Obviously, he had a bid for, or we couldn't get Tchouaméni, in the summer. And we know that his other main target is obviously Jude Bellingham. When you're looking at those two players, Jude, I wouldn't say is that technical. Maybe Tchouaméni, I would say, is a bit more technical than a Jude. Jude, for me, is more like an all-action Jackson. Tchouaméni I know he can, for me, plays in the 6, but I know he can play in the 8 as well. Jude, I don't think can play in the 6, but obviously he's an 8. He's an 8/ maybe even a 10, to be honest with you, but we don't play with one. So two more different types of midfielders. So those are the two that we know guaranteed that he's obviously wanted, in the last, let's say, 18 months. So we've got those two. Everyone else, I don't believe. Until I see them, or until there's actual concrete news, I don't believe. I don't think that, I don't think, maybe I would say he admires a few others, but I don't really believe the reports of any of these people when they mention some of these players, names, your Caicedos, your Endo, all of them. I think it's more admiration. Anyone for the right price you would probably take, to be honest with you. So that in that sense, yes, he would probably take some of these players, but the reality is, if he really wanted them, he would go, they would go out and sign these kind of players. It's been proven before under Liverpool, but he's still got all of these players here at the football club. he has got his favourites here at this football club. He has got a certain type of player that he likes at this football club. So whether that be because of their temperament, whether that be because of what they offer for the team, whether that be because of his own loyalty to that player and vice versa, a bit like an Oxlade-Chamberlain situation, a bit like a Naby Keita situation. Obviously now we are in a situation whereby those players that he has trusted throughout his time are now players he can't trust. But it's almost taken him until this period of time. We're now in January, where he's now decided that maybe these are players that I can't really trust. Maybe these are guys that I'm gonna maybe need to change it about for. You know, maybe in different types of games, I play different types of players and, you know, I change it up a little bit. Something that I've been screaming for him to do. Something that, for me, any manager of any kind of level would kind of do. But especially one who's an elite manager like himself should be able to show everybody that, you know, I've got enough adaptability, you know, in my arsenal to allow me to change things up. But unfortunately for me, he hasn't shown that. And that's why I show this array of midfield talent, because the reality is he's in a position whereby if everyone is fit, I still reckon he still looks at the team and says, you know what, if everyone's fit, I reckon we're all right. People say, no, you know, he's not naive. He knows we need a midfield, blah, blah, blah. I don't believe so. I genuinely believe he thinks that if everyone is fit, he's fine with the midfield options he's got. Yes, he wanted Tchouaméni and then Jude Bellingham this summer. I think that was purely because he knew that he'd probably be losing James Milner, Ox and Naby, so that would have been 3. So in his eyes, he's been able to cover 2 of those positions in the both summer windows last summer and then obviously potentially this summer. On top of them, players like Tyler Morton coming back, Bajcetic obviously being added to the he's fine, he's good. And this is what I'm saying. We need to start opening our eyes, because the evidence is clearly here for us. So we need to start maybe even accepting the sheer fact that this is maybe the way that he's going to move forward. Okay, no problem. The issue with Jurgen, one of the other issues with Jurgen Klopp, if he's going to play any midfield, he needs to utilize their strengths. One of the good things I saw from the game against Wolverhampton wasn't even the fact that the midfield played the way it played. For me, that wasn't even the best part of the game. The best part of the game was the attack, because of the type of attack that he had. He realized that he's got Fabio Carvalho, Cody Gakpo, and Harvey Elliott. None of them are quick. None of them are going to burst anybody. None of them are really going to... Gakpo maybe he's got a bit of pace, of course. But if we're talking about explosiveness, and to be honest, yeah, for me, they're not really that quick. They're for me, I'll not put them in slow players, but they're not, you know, breaking too much wind, if I'm being too honest with you. So when I'm looking at those 3 and the way that they play, press, but they are players who like ball to feet, which then allows your midfield, who are all ball playing midfielders, to play the ball to feet of these attackers, as opposed to picking up the ball, trying to press. Once they finish pressing, trying to release a Mo Salah or Darwin Núñez or whoever's up front kind of thing. The game plan seemed to have changed. And I think that, for me, in the attack and in what the attack was doing, was the reason why we were able to see that midfield flourish. So moving on to Saturday's game against Chelsea, and we're looking at the midfield and who does he play and, you know, stuff like that. I'll tell you right now, I don't want to see Fabinho and I don't want to see Jordan Henderson. I think we desperately need to move away from those 2. I think we need to use them sparingly between now and the end of the season. I'm not saying they can't ever play in any game, and we were still in the FA Cup. There's still going to be some league matches that they might need to play, and they can also still come on in games, late in games. We don't necessarily need to start these guys anymore, unless there is an injury, of course. If a Keita or a Thiago or Bajcetic or an Oxlade-Chamberlain, if they were to get injured, then yes, of course, they're going to need to play. But for me, we need to start using these guys sparingly. We need to stop making them the main hub of the team, because we need to be moving away from this. And that's something that Klopp needs to, you know, start sorting out very, very quickly, is moving away from these kind of players. So for me, you know, against like a Chelsea, you know, who I think might have a, maybe, you know, Jorginho, Kovacic, Gallagher in the middle, but all players who like to, you know, put their foot in, especially Gallagher, he's going to be the one that's going to be doing most of the pressing. He's going to be almost the antagonizer in that midfield. If you're going to play a Fabinho and a Henderson, playing up against an antagonizer like Conor Gallagher with maybe a Mason Mount floating in around, it will end for us. And that's just off Conor Gallagher. It will absolutely end for us. It will be absolutely pointless. We'll lose that battle. We need to move on. That I can see that from a mile off, and I think everyone else can see that. Now, I'm also not saying that a Thiago, Keita, and maybe Bajcetic can not get, you know, could also get run over as well. Of course they could. Of course they could. But what with those three in the middle, what you then have is a sense of calmness. Unlike Fabinho and Henderson, who are not good ball-playing midfielders, with Thiago, with a Bajcetic, with a Keita, they are ball-playing midfielders. So you've got that sense of calmness when they are under pressure. They don't feel that level of pressure that, say, a Fabinho, a Hendo, or James Milner would feel in the middle of the park because they're so calm about it. They trust themselves in their own ability. We saw Bajcetic. Now, I don't want to put too much pressure on the kid. Me personally, maybe I might go, it's between him and Ox, who I'd have in the middle. I won't be mad at either. Let's put it to you that way. You guys decide what kind of midfield you want to see, but also we have to think and be a bit clever about it. We need to understand who we're coming up against. We're not going to face the same team we faced against Wolves. We need to understand that. And I think that's where people got a little bit carried away thinking, oh, look what Bajcetic can do. Look what Thiago can do. Look what Keita can do. They're going to do the same thing. No, they're not, because the reality is you're not going to come up against that same midfield, and you're not going to have the same attack that you had against Wolves, which allowed for them to be able to play that way. And I think those 6 positions are going to be so key if Jurgen Klopp is trying to obviously go out there and win this game. That's what those 6 positions, but more importantly, the attack. What attack is he going to play? Who is he going to play up front? If you're going to play Mo Salah, Darwin Núñez, we're not getting a press then. If we're not getting a press, it doesn't matter who you play in midfield now. It really doesn't matter, because the reality is the gaps are going to be too big, because both Darwin and Mo like to stretch the lines. Meaning if the gaps are too big, our midfield can get bypassed. It's then really on Chelsea whether or not they're able to see that and they're able to capitalize upon that. If they do not capitalize upon that, we stand a chance. If not, don't worry about winning the game, because we're not going to win that game. That again, these are things you can see from a mile off because of how we've been playing this season. They all will depend on that attack and what he's planning to do. I don't know what he's planning to do in that sense. I mean, Núñez is supposedly coming back, so we need to wait and see. So does he then move to a possession-based game? Well, both maybe Núñez can't play a possession-based game. That's just not his game. You know, he'd be just on the periphery for too long of that kind of game. So do you then change it? You know, these are all things, because how they play is then how the midfield will then react to that. So, and then it changes maybe the style that we're going to play in. You know, we can't do at this moment in time, we cannot do high intensity in possession. That Liverpool can't do that. They need to do either or. It's either high intensity and you're able to just do it, which we can't because we ain't got the players to do so, or we're going to play more of a possession based game, and the press is a bit of a lower press. I wouldn't say it's a high press or anything like that. Mid press, if anything, but it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I'm probably just going to go with Thiago, Keita. Thiago, Keita, and I'll go with Ox for now. But like I said, I won't be mad if I do see Bajcetic playing in there. I just think that might be a bit too much for him. You know, he does need to bulk up a little bit. Remember, we're not really playing against like a Wolves team do like to keep possession. I don't really look at Chelsea and think that. I feel like they'll try and get up and out, even though Kovacic, Jorginho can do that. I just think, it might be one of those ones. I think maybe even Kante, but potentially is he coming back for the game? If so, do you really want Bajcetic in there? Not really. You know, the players that they will get. By the way, I'm saying this like, I don't know. Bajcetic could easily play in this game and absolutely light it up and show everybody, which I would absolutely love because I like him as a player. But if I'm just thinking, I'm just looking at everything and trying to look at the bigger picture and just think, maybe not in this game. Maybe I would start off with an Ox. Maybe you can bring on a Bajcetic later if things ain't really working out or whatever. But maybe I might start with Ox. But guys, let me know in the comments, what midfield 3 would you guys pick? for the game in itself. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting game, and I think Jurgen Klopp is going to have a lot to, I don't want to say answer for, but he's going to have a big think, you know, tonight in regards to his team selection. If I can, I'll try and put my team out for you guys to see, who I would put as my starting lineup, and then yeah, we'll go from there. But hopefully this weekend we can see a victory against Chelsea. We're both more or less in the same position. We're 9th, they're 10th, so this is definitely a mid-off. So it's going to be an interesting one, but I think it should be an exciting game. Both need the 3 points, desperate for the 3 points as well. So, you know, hopefully it's going to be a very good game. Guys, that's the end of the video. Make sure you catch me on the Jerry James show. Should be doing a preview for the game anyway, so you might be able to see my team over there. But if not, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like this video. I'm G, and I'm out. Boom.